Welcome to the Lucidist podcast, where I explore everything because I believe everything is connected to everything else. And also because I believe in an infinite, unbounded potential within each of us. And I'm constantly curious about what those potentials in me might be, and also how I am connected to everything, even though I often spend my life feeling disconnected and refusing to fully take responsible for that connection. So today I'm talking about a recent experience where I got to clearly see my Jekyll and Hyde. I have known this part of me kind of on my periphery, meaning I knew I had those moments, but I downplayed them because I actually don't know who's Jekyll and who's Hyde, like who's nice and who's mean. But that mean one, I feel like I don't have control over either one. Let's put it that way. There are times where my kindness, my gentleness, my support, my understanding, it flows like a well, like it just overflows and it's just there. And I'm even amazed by it. I'm amazed to participate and experience and witness that one. And again, without control, it's something that is just happening. But the same for the other one, the one who can be hurtful and harmful and judgmental and cruel and just downright mean, vicious, manipulative, all the things that you never want to be in a relationship where you're building trust. I'm not in control of that one either. When that one shows up, it's like a volcano. And I am completely and utterly helpless before it. And I am ashamed and I'm just humbled when that one takes over. And I would say that one is also taking over at a time when I'm checking out. And so I haven't been really aware, conscious, uh, participatory. Like I have not been able to really do anything other than surrender to that one and let it have its way until it's done. And then, I quote, slowly come back online and begin living the middle ground. So the two experiences are very different, even though there's similarities. So the similarity is that I don't control either one. I would say that's the main similarity. The big difference between them is in one of them, I'm very aware and conscious and participatory and engaging. In the other one, I'm completely checked out. No participation, no awareness, no consciousness. So recently, I had a conversation with someone, and I don't think they would care if I said who it was, but I don't know for certain, so I'm just not going to mention. Someone that's known me for a long, long time, over 2 decades, and has seen me in many intimate situations. Not a lover of any kind, romance in any way, and they just flat out said it in the middle. We weren't talking about this at all. We were kind of just talking about communication and specifically our communication, and they just flat out said it. And when they said it, it wasn't until after the words came out of their mouth I realized how much courage it took for them to say it, because when you say this to someone that has this kind of aspect, you don't know which one you're going to get. So this person said to me, you are the nicest, kindest, most supportive, understanding person I've ever met. And you're also the meanest, cruelest, most judgmental, scariest person I've ever met. And I never know which one I'm going to get. And it reminded me of, it was actually a gentleman I was dating many, many years ago. And he said something similar. And I remember sort of brushing it off. It was right after my divorce and I was in a hard place anyway. So I remember being like, well, I'm going through a divorce. It's fine. But he said, when we get together, I'm never quite sure if you're going to, throw your arms around me and hug me, or if you're like, it's just going to be a cold, stone ice. And I would say the person that recently told me about my Jekyll and Hyde was seeing the same thing, right? It's the same thing. And it's caused me to do a lot of things. It's been about a week since that conversation, and I've gotten to really look at my Jekyll and Hyde. And that's when I began to realize I actually don't know this sort of mean, bad, cruel part of me very well, because I check out when it shows up. So one of my goals is when that one shows up again, I mean, I would like to be able to stop it. I don't know that I can at this time. I think with time I can. It may still be more powerful than me, but what I'd like to do is not check out, to stay present with it, to be with that part of me that is cruel and mean and judgmental and manipulative and just all the things that I could possibly not want to be. So my first goal is to actually stay present and be aware and try to be consciously experiencing what this is and to see it for myself. Because as of now, I'm a little bit blind. I have checked out too many times when that one shows up. So that's the first step. The second thing I started realizing was just trying to look for the pattern. When does it show up? What is it? What does it want? What is it doing? And it actually took me all the way back to my childhood. And I remember when I was little, my MO when I couldn't when I wasn't getting my needs met from my family, well, I had a lot of them, but the one particularly with Jekyll and Hyde is I would withdraw. I mean, I would go hide outside somewhere. I would sulk away and remove myself either emotionally or mentally or physically, and hide. And then so many times nobody came looking for me. I'd, wait forever. Who knows how long forever is? I was a child. But I would wait forever. Nobody would come, and I'd finally come back. And then I'd just feel mean and angry and upset. Like, why, first of all, I'm not getting my needs met. And then, second of all, when I try to do something, which seemed very rash to me, when I do something to try to get attention, I still don't get attention. And, is anything ever going to get, how am I ever going to get my needs met here? So just a lot of anger after that. I think that was the beginning of my Jekyll and Hyde. And because the reason I say that is it just sort of, it feels like those moments as a child have a similar energy, like they were the seed of what's now an oak. So that was a little acorn. So there's a familiar energy to those sulkings, and that frustration and anger that has now become, this raging part of me. So, and it's interesting because my raging part is generally so controlling and controlled that it's just ice cold. It's like being dropped naked on the ice in the Arctic and just it burning your skin. It's so cold. So this Jekyll and Hyde, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it today was shame. When this person first said it to me, the shame in me was so great that I spent probably the next 3 days sort of barricading myself against my own inner critic, who was just vicious in their attacks and just brutal. So I stayed present for that. I'm proud of myself now. I hope to do a little better next time, in that it was terrible to see how vicious that and brutal this inner critic is. Just completely demolishing me for having this Jekyll and Hyde complex. So I had to get through those first 3 days of those vicious inner attacks. And that just reminded me of, the saying, the enemy is within. oh my God, that it was 100% true. I was like, nobody could beat me up the way this thing inside of me is beating me up right now, now that we've seen this Jekyll and Hyde. And of course, this person in my life is very important to me. And so I was both ashamed, but I was so devastated. I hurt because I had hurt them. And I was just like grieving to see that I had hurt them. So there was a lot going on. But so back to the shame part, and I thought, oh, I remember when I went to my therapist last week and I told her what had happened and, seeing this part of me and talking about it, I was still in a total, shame storm, just hating myself. And like, I couldn't believe, that to clearly see how harmful I've been with people in my life when my whole goal is communication and connection, and then to like see how poorly I've been doing it, I just was just crushed. um and it's interesting because I had another conversation with this person uh, a day or two ago, and that one was like amazing. It was like the other part of me that showed up and talked about it, and is so damn good at communication and at connection and at apologizing, at forgiving myself and others. And just, I was just like, I literally am like Jacqueline Hyde. Like, you couldn't get two more opposing personalities. But I've always felt that about myself, that I was extremes. Um, Learning to balance those extremes, quite an art form. Okay, so back to the shame. How do we get to shame? So things with my rape trial progress. It's been scheduled, and I can feel it coming up. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. But I was recently listening to something, and it was talking about the trauma in our criminal justice system and how it's so traumatizing for both the victim, which it is, but also the perpetrator, which I don't know, but I am absolutely sure it is, and how there there are better ways that we can be doing this. And one of the things they talked about was how much shame is involved on both sides, and blame. There's so much shame and blame. I feel so much shame and blame in the criminal justice system, uh, because I have to try to get strangers to believe me, and to do it in front of the public, and to do it with a defense attorney that is going to do everything he can to blame and shame me. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. I hope you hear in the words how horrifying it is to do that. I've done it once. There was no jury for that one, at the pretrial. I imagine the defendant, the man who raped me, he doesn't have to get on trial. But I imagine sitting at that table listening to whatever he has to listen to probably also feels incredibly shaming and blaming. I've always known since the beginning that this wasn't the way I wish I could go about it. At the very, very beginning, I remember the prosecuting attorney asked me, like, if you could have anything, like, what would it be? And I said, immediately no. I said I would give him 10,000 hours of counseling. He had to, and the counseling would be listening to people tell their rape story, and they get to ask him questions and he can ask them questions. 10,000 hours. That's it. I cannot imagine that he would not be a completely different person after 10,000 hours of speaking with and listening to rape survivors. That's what I was like, yeah, that's what I would ask for. So I've never been out to penalize this person, um, or or condemn them to like a life that they couldn't live, to somehow, I don't really know the words. I mean, I could say prison, but it's such a, there's so much involved in that word. I have no desire to ruin his life. I have no desire to take away his freedom to live, to learn, to grow, to, do what he needs to do. I also have no desire to act like nothing happened and to act like his behavior is fine and that there's nothing to be gained from stopping and acknowledging when you totally fucked up. Same way I did last week when someone told me, "Hey, you got this Jekyll and Hyde," and I got to look at that and come back and say, "Yeah, okay, okay, I didn't really honestly look carefully enough to see it, and now that I have, you're right, and I'm sorry, and I'm sorry." It's so interesting because when I called this man who raped me the morning after and said, "What the fuck did you do to me last night?" If he would have said, "I'm sorry, I made a very big mistake and a bad decision last night," that would have changed our lives. That would have changed both of our lives, and we would not be here. The interesting thing is I'm still totally open to that. Like if he at any moment were to step forward and say, "Can we talk?" I would talk to him privately. I would have a lot of people in the room, at least. But if can we talk? And if he said, "I I made a very bad mistake that night and very poor decision, and I'm sorry. And what can we do besides this criminal justice system?" I would 100% be willing to talk about other things. And no, it may not be the 10,000 hours. I don't know. I don't have a need to know what the answer is. But I wish there were an answer that didn't perpetuate the shame and the blame. I wish there were a way that it could be dealt with where there's actually possibilities for all of us to learn and grow and continue to have the freedoms we need in our life to live. So, and it was interesting because, this person that shared their reflection of my Jekyll and Hyde, after acknowledging mine, of course they smile and say, "Well, I mean, I have my own." And I imagine almost everyone in their own way has their Jekyll and Hyde. I can think of one person who I don't think does. Well, who I don't believe did. And that was my grandmother, Vera, my dad's mother. I honestly don't believe she had that. Not only just some people I think don't have it on the outside, but I think they've got one inside and they're just able to sort of control it. I don't even know if my grandmother Vera even had that. Like she was just really a remarkable woman. Um, but for the most part, everybody else I see, they have it. It may not be as extreme as mine. But I see the way people are so snippy and snide and mean with their words about other people when they're not around. I think that's a Jekyll and Hyde. Um, or, I mean, obviously there's parent Jekyll and Hydes. But, this person was like, "Oh, don't worry, I got my own. I got my own that I'm trying to deal with." And that too is such a way to remove the blame and the shame. Like we're all working on things. And yes, rape is a little bit bigger than a Jekyll and Hyde moment. But I also, I just I just don't feel the need to judge. I would like to just find solutions in my life now. That's that's where I feel like I am. I'm not judging doesn't interest me anymore. I know I used to be very good at judging. That was definitely a trauma response. I could split hairs like nobody's business. Um, and it just isn't anymore. That part of my trauma response, it has fallen away. And what's left is just there's more curiosity about, well, what are some solutions? What are some remedies? What are some, and a lot of times I'm finding I don't have any solution, none. And I just have to have the courage, don't have to. Some days it's just survive this day. You know, those days last week when that vicious part of me was so attacking and demoralizing and so, beating me with my own shame of having a Jekyll and Hyde. Um, all I could tell myself was just try to survive this. I couldn't get it to stop. It wouldn't, none of my usual go-tos were working. Like exercise was not helping, meditation was not helping, my long hot baths weren't helping. It was like it didn't matter what I did. It was incessant. It was constant. It was terrible. And I just kept telling myself, just survive this day, and then the next day, and the next day. And I just kept thinking, one of these days. And it did. It was many days, but one of those days came and it finally stopped. So, where am I? I'm in the middle of life and I try to figure some things out, and some days I do. I try to figure things out and it goes terribly. I try to figure things out and I'm completely clueless and helpless and so small and insignificant beneath this huge storm of life. And yet there's always this little spark that lives inside of me. And I don't say that as like I can suddenly like jump up and spark the world and da 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 da. No, it's just, it doesn't seem to go out. It's more what I'm saying. Doesn't go out. And so when I can survive, when I think I'm drowning, when I come out, there's this little spark, this little flame inside, or when I'm buried in the darkness and I think it's all gone out, there's no light, I come back up, there it is again. So I think survival is a good skill to learn in life. So, and again, as I say, the enemy is within. Surviving our own demons is a big part of it. Yeah, and obviously learning to navigate other people's demons. I want to give a shout out to my mom, who passed away about a month and a half ago. And I've just felt her kind of like a sheer blanket overhead. Not a strong presence, so to speak, but around and nearby. And I feel like she's always smiling. It's just sort of annoying as I go through these hard times, but she's sort of just smiling like, yeah, you're getting it, girl. Like you're getting it. Like I'm worried and I'm struggling and all this stuff, and she's just kind of smiling. Just smiling. It's like, yeah. So I feel her near. I know she's, I don't know, what, here or whatever. I know I'm not alone. I know she's here, but she doesn't seem too concerned about all my concerns, which is kind of funny. Um, and I have to say, as far as like connecting with people once they pass, it is a mystery. It is a mystery. I was so intimately involved with my dad, so close with my dad, so did so much taking care of him, blah, 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 blah. And when he died, I did not have a shred of any kind of connection or feeling of him for almost 2 years. And I was just so angry. I was like, what the hell like, why did I even bother with you? Like, you're just gone. And I would hear my siblings be like, oh, I feel like dad's helping me with this. I'm like, "Ah, he hasn't done a damn thing." And then the irony is, I just was not present with my mom at the end. I did nothing to take care of her. And I did that because that's what felt right for me. You know, my calling was stay away. This is not your gig. I was like, okay, there you go. And then, but I have felt so close to her before she died. Like the few weeks before when she was passing, I felt so close. You know, the morning that she died. So she died around I think like 8 a.m. And that morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. I have never, ever, ever in my life done this. I woke up at 4 a.m. and something in me said, get up and go sit on your cushion and meditate for an hour. I was like, okay. So I got up, went and sat on my meditation cushion at 4 in the morning, set my alarm an hour, meditated. It was so deep and still. Like it was like crazy. I was like the depth and the stillness at the bottom of the ocean, just not even disturbing the finest dust in the bottom of the ocean. I meditated for an hour. I crawled back in bed and went to sleep. I was like, okay, whatever that was. And then, she died at 8 a.m. that morning. So anyway, I've just felt so, and then I felt her and felt her and felt her and felt her. I've just felt my mom so much. And in such an unusual way. Like I said, always just this kind of little smile on her face. Very fun, sort of knowing smile. Very, very sweet in a way. Like I see you, I know you. You're good. You got this. But so going back to when people pass, I don't think we ever have any idea the connections we have with people beyond the physical realm, and what those are and what they mean and what they're going to do. Because I know there have been people that I didn't know very well, and they passed, and they seemed like they were with me a lot. And I was like, why are you here? Like, I barely know you. Where other times, someone I thought I might, that I knew quite well, and they passed, and nothing. They didn't show up. No, nothing. So I say that because I just don't know that we know enough to make big, broad judgments about anyone or anything. There's so much we don't understand, so much we don't know. And I appreciate the mysteries that the quantum realm are bringing to science. Um, a lot of head scratching goes a long way, for all of us. So my takeaway today is profound and deep, and that is, don't be afraid to be with all the parts of yourself. Don't be afraid to be with all the parts of yourself. I know I talked about hate in depth, and interestingly enough, when this Jekyll and Hyde thing came up, hate came up again. I hated me, I hated life, I just hated. And hate showed up, and it took me, I think it almost took me a day of hating before I was like, wait a second, I'm missing the signpost. And the signpost, remember, with hate was, when hate is around, it tells me I'm off balance, I'm out of balance, and I'm missing something. So after a day of like hating, I was like, okay, wait, I'm out of balance. I'm out of balance. What am I missing? What am I missing? So I had to go back. Okay, the Jekyll and Hyde, the shame and the blame. Now I'm attacking myself. And now I'm hating. And I just realized that's when I really realized, okay, you're in a shame storm and it's kind of out of control. You can't get it back into control. You're kind of just gonna have to weather this, but do your best not to believe any of it. So that's where my lesson with hate actually has come back and helped me get through my latest shame storm. Because when I saw the hate, I realized, okay, you're out of balance, something's wrong, you know, you can't control this thing anymore. It's too big. But kind of, it was enough to know it's not real. Don't take it seriously. Just do your best to weather the storm. Um, so, learning to be with all the parts of ourselves, have the courage to be with all the parts of yourself, including and especially the parts you don't like, the parts that society teaches us are bad or wrong, like my hate. If I had not been willing to be with my hate all those weeks ago, it would not have helped me. Hate helped me get through my latest shame storm. And so now that I'm willing to be with this side of me that is cruel and mean and manipulative and judgmental and all the things I don't want to be, um, to have the courage to be with myself when I'm like that and to see myself when I'm like that. And it's just, I know no better way to care for and love myself than that. And I want to say, just because I'm willing to do that with myself doesn't mean you should do that with another person. If there's someone out there that is mean and cruel and judgmental and manipulative, I'm not saying that you should go hang out with them. But when that person is inside of you, when that person is you, um, I would suggest it. But you need to be able to do it in such a way that you can protect yourself from yourself. Because I do have a part of me that is quite vicious and harmful to myself and beats me up. So, and I'm still learning how to navigate and negotiate that one. But my profound and deep insight today is learn to be with all the parts of yourself. Have the courage to be with all the parts of yourself. Have the wisdom to see all the parts of yourself. And have the humility to love. Have compassion for all the parts of yourself. I think humility is so underrated. Humility is so underrated. Without humility, we are truly nothing. You are someone without humility is an empty, hollow shell of bullshit. Some old, those of you that don't know, a cow pie. If you've never seen a cow pie in a field, well, let's say in a normal, healthy field, a cow drops its pie and it's this big gooey mess, and then the outside hardens and dries. And then the inside festers away, grows flies, blah, 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 blah. And then after a while, I don't know how long, I just know that after a while, there's this thin, dry, flaky crust. And inside, it's hollow. There's nothing inside. It's all decomposed and been eaten and turned into other things. And it's just this thin, crusty, flaky, hollow shell of a cow pie. And that is what I think a person without humility is. Person without humility is a hollow, dried out cow pie. Literally nothing. Because without humility, you cannot look and see yourself. You cannot feel and be with yourself. You cannot love yourself. And you certainly cannot do any of that with another person. But we'll just start with ourselves. So there it is, my insight for today. love and be and see and know and humble. Humble. Be like the earth with all the parts of yourself. So I'll let you know how my journey with Jekyll and Hyde go. As I said, when I see it, I'm halfway to home, which means I'm on second base. I've seen my Jekyll and Hyde. I can speak about it. I'm willing and ready to let life guide me in this lesson of understanding my Jekyll and Hyde, all the ways that it's served me in getting here, and then all the way that it prevents me from moving forward. And if anyone else out there happens to have a Jekyll and Hyde, know that I'm smiling over your shoulder, and you're going to be just fine. You'll figure it out. So I believe in you. I believe in you. Just like my mama believes in me. So you guys take care of yourselves, and we'll be in touch soon. Bye-bye.